touching upon, putting a draft together, come up with some idea, is something I hear a lot from young writers. They're saying, I think it can be improved a lot. That sense of self-doubt refrains and kind of stops them from taking this to the next level, right? So did you engage someone to proofread? Why I'm telling this is because this is what I hear all the time. I'm writing something, I don't think it's good enough. Not good enough is something that stops you even from the draft stage, right? And then they're looking for someone who can vet. And that's where I think nowadays there are a lot of ghostwriters. Turns out some of the famous books are written by the ghostwriters, right? I was reading about this guy who happens to be the writer for this book by James Clear, The Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
Right. And turns out that the draft could be messy, but you have someone who can improve it. Someone like you, the output would be beautiful, and people would definitely love to, flip through the pages and take it to the end. How did you navigate that stress of self-doubt, and then did someone proofread it, or you were like, no, I trust what I'm doing, it's straight from the heart, let's get it published?
Absolutely. I would recommend using an editor. And I had my books edited multiple times by a couple of different editors. That's so important, because you can have a draft that you're not happy with. If you have doubts about it, probably needs to be improved if that voice is telling you that. So keep going, keep editing yourself. Like I edit, it takes me a long time to edit my work, but I write a chapter, I print it out and I edit it on the page, and I might do it 10 times that I print it out, maybe even more with some chapters. So it's a really painstaking process, but then I'm happy with that chapter and then I move on. Then I finish all the chapters and then I'll go through the whole book again. And I find most authors are really, really fastidious about editing their own book, and then they have an editor. And then once you've had that second set of professional eyes pointing out inconsistencies or contradictions or repetition, that's when you say, this is a good book. Now I feel proud and I want to share it with the world. But you should always use an editor.
Right. Help me understand, what is the right age to start writing a book from your experience?
As soon as you can hold a pen.
Really?
Yeah, really. Really. I think absolutely. I mean, my daughters come to my office, and Claire is 5, and they write a couple of books when they're at Henbury Books. And Claire could only write the letter A. And so she wrote a book called Ah. And it's a picture book. And then she came to my desk and she told me what to say. And then we bound it and put the sticker on. And then she had a little video. And you should. I mean, little kids are amazing at telling stories. They're great storytellers.
Yeah.
And their imagination isn't limited by reality.
I agree.
So, it can be really fun and way out to hear these stories. And then, we have an author, we have a 10-year-old author and we have a 13-year-old author. And our 13-year-old author, Maya Ahmed, she published her book just a couple of weeks ago, and we had the launch at her school. And she had written 2 novellas before this 40,000-word science fiction novel. And wow, she has set herself up for a long writing career. But alternatively, you're never too old to start writing. So our eldest author was 91 when she started writing her autobiography, with her painting as well. And she has had a fantastic time since publishing her book. She is a local hero in her Queensland town. And the stores keep calling us and saying, like, send more copies because she's selling out. It's just amazing. So I think just put age aside and just write.
Wow. I'm digressing a little bit. I'll continue that topic, but I was reading some of your blogs the other day. It turns out that you're not the first generation writer. Your grandfather was also a publisher, and he left his cushy job in a bank, went by his gut feeling despite everybody telling him it's not the right decision for you. And then he spent next 40 years publishing books. Can we touch upon that story, please?
Yeah, it's an amazing story. Howard Muddett, he set up Paternoster Press in London, and it was a Christian publishing house, and he ran it with my dad's brother, Jeremy Muddett. They ran it for many years until a fire burnt down their warehouse and they lost everything, and it was quite a disaster. But it did continue. And actually, Paternoster Press was bought by an Australian publisher, through which is still around today, which is amazing. And my cousin is also the CEO of PLOS Publishing, the scientific publisher in the United States. But we're not related. We're not blood relatives, although he's my grandfather. My dad was adopted. So it's this really bizarre coincidence that despite the fact that we're not adopted, publishing still runs through my veins. But my dad, he immigrated to Australia and he did not have the publishing inclination. But what he did have was Hembury Pty Ltd, which was his furniture business. So my business, Hembury Books, is named after my dad's furniture business.
Wow, what a story, isn't it?
It's so weird.
I was so moved by that. And look, who would have known that you would eventually become a publisher?
Yeah, and they used to send us, because Paternoster Press did children's books, and they would send us these jungle stories like this. One of their authors was this, global sensation, and he wrote the Jungle Book stories. And so I remember reading them and seeing Paternoster Press at the back, and maybe that did lodge something in me, is that, it's possible to have your logo on a book. Like, I didn't see authors around me, but I did see that that's something, I also never met my grandfather. He was in the UK, and before he passed away, there was no visit. So I never met him, but you have a sense that you've met someone, which is weird. You just, I don't know, from photographs and talking on the phone and things.
Wow. Now let's touch upon your publishing. You are on a mission to disrupt the publishing industry. And while there are so many publishers out there, when you were talking about our book, and I had this instant connection because you sounded more like an author, less like a publisher, because you were putting yourself in my shoes. So what exactly are you trying to do through Hembury Books, and how you're different?
I set up Hembury Books because of the heartbreak that I felt, the absolute heartbreak of not being able to get a traditional publishing deal. And it was looking like my dream of becoming an author that had been within me, even though I couldn't articulate it all my life, was not going to happen for me, that I would never get to say I'm an author. I would never get to know other authors. I would never have people read my book, because I tried and tried and tried and just got so many rejections. I think I exhausted all the publishers in Australia that I could. It was really, and overseas. And when you're told no so many times, you can start to lose confidence in yourself that they might be right, like this book should not exist. But then I reluctantly self-published. And then as soon as I began, I was like, this is an amazing way to publish because I have creative control. I'm going to keep all my royalties. I decide what the cover is. The timeline is all mine. And I loved it. And then, Our Home in Myanmar did well. And, I had all these amazing speaking opportunities, and I got it off my chest, and that was very satisfying to me. But it was overwhelming at times. I made mistakes, and it was lonely. Like, when things went well, I could text mum or a friend or something, but I didn't have anyone in my corner. And I also was acutely aware of the stigma around self-publishing. Like, it was in 2021. Things are changing every year, but I was ashamed that I had to self-publish it. And I never said this book is self-published unless I absolutely was compelled to say it, because I felt that people wouldn't give it a chance if they knew that it was self-published. So funnily enough, when you have to on Amazon say who's the publisher, I just went, Hembury Press, and now I've got Hembury Books. And so I kept being a journalist, and then was writing my second book. And then Dad died. And then the very next day, I was like, I want to give up journalism and pursue this book dream of surrounding myself with books every day. And I'll call it Hembury Books. And I want to help writers become authors, because I know that the doors are closed. Unless you're famous, you will not get a book deal. Many authors are deterred. It's a high hurdle to self-publish, to learn how to publish a book. It takes ages to learn how to do that. And you make mistakes, you do, and your cover might not be that good, and it's lonely, And so what I love doing is seeing an author, like meeting an author who's got an amazing book, and bringing that out into the world. And we can do that because we have a team of experts who can take care of those aspects of it. And just to allow the author genuine self-expression, we don't mess with characters. We don't say like, oh, this book shouldn't exist, for one, because that's not the goal of Henry Books, is not to sell tons of units of books. It is to help people publish their books and to do that to an exceptionally high standard and in a way that's enjoyable and creatively fulfilling. Because when you're an author, you can have a great experience, but often you don't. You get chosen by a traditional publisher and it's meant to be this incredible experience, but you suddenly can feel like you don't have a voice. You're not being listened to about, what the cover is. You might not like the editing. You might have to wait 3 years to see your book on the shelves, and it can just be really frustrating. And then you don't get the marketing support that you thought you would get. And then, there might be no communication at all. And then suddenly your book is just relegated to the backlist and you never hear anything again. You don't know how many books have sold. You don't get any royalty reports. And you're just like, is my book even good? Is it my fault? I could go on.
Yeah.
We want to do it in a way that's empowering.